The Pink Floyd were original. I mean, the sound was unique.
They sold more records than virtually anyone else in the world or something ridiculous like that, but at the same time they're incredibly obscure and stuff.
They became the spokespeople of disappointment.
I like the jokes and the twists and
I mean, the rage that comes out of those songs is really extraordinary.
They were the Pink Floyd, an above and beyond category.
Those sounds were made by the Pink Floyd. Of them, more hereafter.
In 1985, Roger Waters, founder member of Pink Floyd, handed in his resignation. For those who weren't up on the band's history, it may have signalled the end, but the band had survived the loss of a key member once before. 1965, and the story so far. Roger Waters and Syd Barrett went to school together in Cambridge. When Waters went to London to study architecture at the Regent Street Polytechnic, he teamed up with two fellow students, Rick Wright and Nick Mason. Syd Barrett was later brought in as lead singer. They became known as the Pink Floyd.
The black and green scarecrow, as everyone knows, stood with a bird on his hat and swore everyone...
Spring of '66, I was attached to the training department of what was then British European Airways, and the only nice thing about it was 5% flights at the weekends. And the chap who became my partner, Peter Jenner, was teaching at the LSE, and he was bored with that. And we were involved in all the sort of things which were going on at that time, the happenings, you know, the early days of swinging London. And I thought, well, you know, the thing to do would be to manage a rock band. And I heard about the Pink Floyd, and I thought that's the one to manage. As for the band themselves, you had a tough cookie in Roger, a man who, if he hadn't been in rock and roll, I'm sure would have been an enormously successful architect. You had Nick with a wonderful showbiz instinct, and Rick giving it the basis of the musical skills. And you had a genius in Syd. So it was a lucky combination.
I first heard of the Pink Floyd in, I guess it was the summer of '66, when Peter Jenner brought me a tape. And subsequently I went to see them in Power Square at the London Free School, which was a rather idealistic Notting Hill Gate organisation.
And the idea was there was going to be a free school which anyone could go to and learn all about exciting things like Gnostic religions and how to grow your own magic mushrooms. And we thought the Pink Floyd should play there, so they did.
Powys Gardens was important because it was the first time that we were booked in our own name and actually drew a crowd on that name.
I brought record company people down, and I was stunned that they couldn't see it exactly. People were interested, but they weren't exactly falling all over themselves. And I thought, this is obvious, this is great, this is going to be, you know, this is a hit.
Inspired by the kind of audience he encountered at Pink Floyd gigs, Joe Boyd, together with his partner John Hopkins, set up a monthly venue called the UFO Club.
Joe asked me to do posters for the UFO Club in the Tottenham Court Road, which met on Friday nights. And I suppose it was the sort of first acid house rock venue, and Floyd were the resident band.
At the time we were doing these endless shows in places like the Top Rank Grimsby or the California Ballroom Dunstable, where the audience actually hated what we did, but UFO was the one area where people were interested in what we were doing, and it sort of kept us alive in a way. There did seem some point in carrying on.
I have to say, we were very experimental. by the time we got to UFO Club, we were playing whatever we felt like. And it seemed to me we actually played quite a lot of rubbish.
If I first may turn to Roger, why has it all got to be so terribly loud? For me, frankly, it's too loud. I just can't bear it. I happen to have grown up in the string quartet, which is a bit soft-fat.
Well, I don't guess it has to be, but I mean, that's the way we like it. And we didn't grow up with a string quartet, and I guess that could be one of the reasons.
Yes, actually, not everybody who hasn't grown up in a string quartet turns into a loud pop group, so your reason is not altogether convincing.
I remember them best as in those early days. You know, performing down at the UFO with the light shows projecting onto them, and we were all spaced.
There were lights everywhere, the oil solution that was then refracted through a projector, which made these designs that sort of covered over the group as they were playing.
The light techniques they're using now are the result of 5 years' research by an architect, Mike Leonard, at work here on his new light projector. The work goes on in a house in Highgate in London.
They were looking for somewhere to, some accommodation. I said, well, why don't you shift into the basement, because plenty of room at the moment, you know.
The most important start point for the light show was Mike Leonard and the Hornsey College of Art. That was a sort of idea that the music could be improvised and the lighting could be improvised to go with it.
I'd just been playing around with making light machines, and I'd started a first embryonic sort of light machine, which was really discs with coloured patterns pushed through optical devices, which gave you quite a wide range of images.
Another experiment aims at a more controlled relation between sound and image. Providing the music, a group which features a range of unusual sound effects, the Pink Floyd.
It was quite funny because we were living with Michael Leonard, our tutor, and he wanted to be in the band, and there's no way we wanted him in the band.
I look a bit like I am now, you know, about the same sort of presence, and short of actually hiring a wig or something, I mean, I don't think how anybody would have actually really accepted me. That's the way things go, you know. If you're born 15 years too late, you miss out. Sid, yeah. At that time, he wasn't crazy like the Diamond at all, you know. He was just always a friendly, humorous guy, always a little chuckle and a laugh, you know. I liked him a lot. He's a nice bloke, Sid.
He was absolutely delightful. At the time when it was considered fashionable to be rather cool, and no one introduced anyone to anyone else, so that you could spend whole parties just addressing people as man. Sid was someone who'd sort of come up and say, "Hi, I'm Sid," and so on. I mean, he was a really easygoing, outgoing personality.
He was a very good painter. He was a very good actor. He was a lovely, handsome boy with lots of girlfriends. You couldn't think of a more well-rounded, integrated, happy bloke.
I remember when Sid joined the band, he had all these incredible ideas, lyrically and musically. Very strange. And very childish in a way, some of his stuff. I mean, it's kind of fairy tales and all this stuff, but totally unique. I'd never heard anything like it, and it was fabulous.
He brought the ability to play the guitar, which was quite unusual at that time. I suppose also he brought the ability to perform, and eventually, I mean obviously not immediately, but eventually he brought songwriting.